So in this next group of videos, we're going to talk more about tkinter, and this time we're going to format the labels a little bit more. We're going to add buttons, and then we're going to do something useful with this app. We're going to accept data, and we're going to do something with that data, like for example, make a calculator. All right, we're going to start off with a quick review of what we learned last week. Let's go into our program. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and import the tkinter file or the tkinter module. Then we are going to create a reference variable for tk, because the tk open and close parentheses, that's what actually creates the window or the surface, the initial surface. Here we initialize the font that we are going to use with the label. Here we are going to call the label class, and within the label class it has these different parameters. We have X, which refers to the tk window command right here, and then we have the text right here. The text equals regarding the 2 p.m. meeting right here, and we have the config method, which of course is because we created W as an object, W dot, and then the method config, and that is going to need the parameters, the background being gray. I went with gray this time. The color of the font or the foreground is black, so you're going to see black on gray. Then we have config equals font equals label font, so that is actually saying font is equal to this tuple right here. Now you could actually reduce the typing and just say font equals this tuple, but we like to, I suppose, be as modular as possible in our code to make it as readable and to make it as changeable as possible. And then this determines the height and width of the overall window right here, the height and width of the label itself, okay? And then we have here, this actually determines how it is placed onto the surface itself. So it allows it to, expand equals yes, allows it to expand as the window is expanded. This will also expand the label itself, and this fills the screen on both X and Y parameters. And then of course this expands, this creates a ever looping condition so that the window itself is actually always looping. All right, let's take a look at what this looks like, and let me quit. And to quit it without writing, because it's gonna think that I actually typed something even though I didn't, we have to do Q and then the exclamation point to get out of there without changing anything. And let's go ahead and run this Python script. So Python 3 screen2.py, and we have here the regarding 2 p.m. meeting, and then we can actually try to expand it. Let's see, it's not expanding for me because I don't think I'm doing something right. Here we go. Every system is going to be different, but you can see that the label also kind of is influenced by how big I'm making the overall window. Anyway, so that's just a little bit of review. So let's go ahead and change this up a bit. So we went ahead and made a small change. What I did here was, let's take a look. You can see that I've added some another label. So instead of just having one label and having it say regarding the 2 p.m. meeting, I added some more detail, but this time I removed the bold parameter and I made it so that it went, the font itself went from 20 down to 10. Still kept the Times font, although you can have really any font you want. In last week's assignment I actually gave a list of possible fonts, but that wasn't all the fonts. But anyways, I said regarding the 2 p.m. meeting, be prepared to talk about the ADAS status. ADAS, just for everyone knows, is basically automated driving status, or ADAS is automated driving something. But I remember when I was at Stellantis, all they talked about was ADAS this, ADAS that. Anyways, so ADAS is a program that the big three actually collaborate with. But anyways, we have I believe this A stands for assistance. So automated driver assistance something or other. Anyways, you can Google it yourself. Actually, it will help you get your first job if you know know all about ADAS, so that's really great. Anyways, so we have w2.config. Background is gray, foreground or the font color is black, and then we have font equals label font 2 that refers to this because it needs to know what it should look like. And then of course, as I said, the only difference was 20 is going down to 10. And then we have the config of the label itself, which is the same. Now, to pack it, I actually just said W2 pack and expand equals yes, fill equals both. So we're basically doubling up on the code. So we're going to get ourselves out of here, and then let's go ahead and run it. And we can see that we have 2 p.m. meeting regarding 2 p.m. meeting, and be prepared to speak about ADAS status. So now I'm showing you how to add an additional label. All right, now the next improvement is essentially going to be using the hex versions of the colors. So we can go to this website right here, htmlcolorcodes.com. You can make a note of it, and then the sub page is color-picker. You can make a note of that, and as I said, here you can select anywhere on the screen, and you can get the various color codes right here. So for example, let's say you wanted to make the foreground something a little bit, or the background something a little bit more white. Let's go here, and maybe we can get a nice pearl or something like here. Here's a nice one, and then we can just copy that or make a note of that, and we can say, and let me go ahead and put this right here, and we can go back. All right, and let's go into insert mode, and then we can go to our color, and instead of gray, the background being gray, we can say let's see, F7F to F1, F7F, and then we have 2F1, 2F1. Let's go ahead and quit, and let's see what this produces. And it says it doesn't know this color. Maybe did I have the caps lock on and I shouldn't? Oh, okay. Let's see. I don't know what I was doing. F7F to F1, and let me see what that produces. Oh, I forgot the pound sign. I'm sorry. Your instructor is not thinking right now. I forgot the pound sign. Here we go. Pound F7F to F1. And let's see what that produces. There we go. Be prepared to speak about the ADAS status. Now we have this dividing line right here because there's two labels. We have a label on top and the label on the bottom. So let's go ahead and let me close this out. And let's go back and let's do pound F7F to F1 and right quit. And let's see what this looks like. And we have the 2 p.m. meeting. Everything seems like it's uniform. Let's maybe make another shade, take another shade. Oh, here's a good one. Here's like more of like an oyster color, F3F 7F1. So that's all we have to do, looks like, is replace the F with replace the 7 with a 3. And the initial, let's see what we have here. And let me click on this. And let's see, we can do F3F 7F1. So we have F3F. I'm just not seeing this. The font is on my Cali right here. I can just barely see. It's 10 a.m. and it's like in the morning, and like sometimes your professor has sometimes difficulty seeing with this small text, but I put my reading glasses on, so this is better. So we have F3F 7F1, okay? And let's change the color of the text itself. Let's make it more like a blue color. Okay, and let's say 162 F95. So let's do pound 162 F95, and let's change this to a pound. Okay, 162 F95, and let's go ahead and right quit. And okay, so this is now blue, that dark blue, and let's go ahead and do the same thing to this 2 p.m. meeting. Let me get my reading glasses on, because this is so, and I can't really make it any bigger because then the resolution is going to decrease. So anyways, so we have pound 162 F 295. And we can see now that both the font of the regarding 2 p.m. meeting and be prepared to speak about the ADAS status is now the same. All right, let's take a look at how to create an exit button. So now we've moved from creating labels to actually creating buttons. So that means we can actually do something with our window. So what we're going to create is an exit button. So the window will appear, we'll press a button, and the window will disappear as opposed to having to press the corner X button depending on whether or not you're using Windows or Mac or Linux or what. So this is the sequence. First, we're going to import all the packages that we want. Now, to create an exit button specifically, we will make use of the sys, S-Y-S package or module. And then we will create what we call a callback. Now, a callback is a special type of function that is used inside of another object. In this case, the button object, much like the label object, has certain parameters that we have to give. One of the parameters will be the name of the function that we have here. Now, the next thing we're going to have to do is create a link to that button. So in other words, let me grab my drawing tool. We're going to go ahead and link the callback to the actual button and vice versa. Then we're going to use and I'll just say .p or .pack method right here to add that particular button to the window. And of course, we're going to have to loop the whole entire thing continually, much like a while loop, to keep it, to make sure it's kept under the screen as opposed to a simple flash. So let's go ahead, and we have already typed in I haven't even run this yet, but we've already typed in everything. So first step is import the modules as we've done here. The modules are sys, and of course from tkinter import all, and then create the custom callback handler. That's in the form of this function right here, and we're calling the function quit. So when you press the button, the command equals quit, you'll see a goodbye, and then it makes use of the exit method in the module called sys. We can say widget equals, the next thing is to program the button. So we'll say widget equals the class button, and here we have the parameters. We have text equals hello event world, and that will be the text as it shows on the button. The none, of course, is just a placeholder. And then we have command equals quit. So in other words, the word command actually refers to a function, the function called quit. And then we have widget.pack. So of course, this places or packs the widget onto the screen, and this widget.main loop, this of course loops the button and the window to your desktop or to your screen, so it keeps on showing itself and it doesn't just flash. So we're going to go ahead and write quit, and this is the first time I will be running this, so let's go ahead and run it. And then of course I have a misspell right there the first time, and maybe some of you caught it, and let's say this is what happens when you're live. That's all I could say. And let's do a clear, and then let's run it again. Okay, hello event world. I don't see the button unless I'm mistaken. So let's go ahead and try this again, and okay, so I made a mistake. That is the button. Hello event world. That is the button. It would be more useful actually if we had a label to go along with this button. I think we'll do that next, but we go ahead and we click this button and it disappears, and we see that it says goodbye. Okay, as I said, I added a label here to make it look, I guess, more authentic. So create label widget equals the label, and here's the parameters none, as opposed to putting tkinter. Or if you recall in the last program, I actually said something like x equals tk in parentheses. I just said done and just added what the text should say. In this case, it says hello, label widget.config. That's of course the method of label widget, and it's saying background is in this case purple. The color of the letters themselves, the so-called foreground or FG, is going to be yellow, and and let's see what this is going to look like. And it says hello event world and then hello. So this is the label, hello, and this is hello event world. That's the button. When we click it, the thing quits, and it says goodbye right here. But let's go ahead, and I like the button being on the bottom. It just seems more natural. So we're just gonna go ahead and move this label widget here. We're gonna pack the label widget first, and then we will pack the button widget. And let me go ahead, button widget dot pack, and let's right click on this, right quit, and let's review. And we have the label widget on top and the button widget on the bottom. So we can go ahead and click the button and the whole thing disappears. All right, let's work on something else that we can do to make our creating an actual graphical user interface actually more useful. All right, let's create some entry boxes. So instead of a label or instead of just a button, we can have entry boxes, and this is a very simple code in which we create the code for the entry box right here. Entry is, so instead of saying label or button, we just say entry, and the first parameter is none. That refers to the fact that we can either have tk in here, or if we had x equals tk and that was the root, we would have x in here, but we have none. We don't really need to put anything. The only thing that it really needs is the parameter to indicate the width of the text box. So if this is 50, maybe for example, this could be 60 just to make this, or maybe we'll make this one 30 to make the width a little bit less, and this will be 50 and this will be 50. Now, the other thing we will need with the entry syntax, we will also have to indicate a place to put it onto the window. So in this case, the dot place is the method, and it uses the x, y values to place it. So we have x equals 50. So that is the distance from this point to this point along the x-axis. So that's across, and then y refers to up down. So it's saying that it's going to go across 50 and down 40. So this entry, I'm going to say field, is going to be across 50 and then down 70, and this field is going to be down even further, and we're going to 100. That refers to 100 pixels, for example. So we're going to go and we're going to write and quit this, and then we're going to run this. And as you can see that the fields, let me just move this over here. Now the fields, you recall this field was the shortest, these two are the longest, and then when this was going down to about 50, this was 70, and then this was like 100, I think it was. And so you can see that they are evenly dispersed in this window. So what is the point of this? Well, these are entry boxes, so we can go ahead and enter different values, so for example, you could be taking a poll, or these could be entries for specifications, for quality control, or literally anything that you want to enter input and then submit it to the system and have the system basically process it, and it spits out like a value, whether it's an encrypted value or something like that. So let's go ahead and then put some more things into this window to make maybe like a calculator or some sort of process in which the information is being loaded into here, and then the user does something with it. All right, we are going to create just a simple quote maker. So you put in your name and then you add in your favorite quote, like it is what it is, or it was the worst of times, it was the best of times. And we first start with importing the tkinter program or module. And then here's an interesting thing right here. We have tk, instead of just saying open and close parentheses, we put in class name equals quote maker. And what that does is on the title part of the window, it'll just say quote maker. This influences the size, and this influences the background color. BG equals light blue, or you can put in a hex value. Here we have name equals name, and then background is purple. That's a label. Here the background is purple. The lettering is yellow. And here's an interesting method. This is the grid method, in which we influence influence where on the window it is. So you can imagine a grid of rows and columns. So this is row 1, column 1. So this would be in the uppermost part of the window. We then go on to directly down and over 1, so because that is row 2, okay? And we go directly down, and then we don't go over any, I should say, because it's row 2, column 1 for the entry field that you saw before. Here we put in another label that says catchphrase, and the text you'll be seeing is favorite saying, and of course that's going to be down 1 again, the same column, and then below that will be the entry field, and that is of course that's going to be is going to be a little bit larger. That's going to be 50. So the name is going to be a little bit smaller and the entry field is a little bit larger. We'll just say actually from 50 we'll go with 70. And of course this is the loop right here. So let's go ahead and write this, and then let's run the program. And this is the favorite saying right here. We want to move that. We want to move the window a little bit further, and let's make it so that you see the quote maker right here. We have the label name, the label favorite saying. This is the entry field here. This is the entry field here. But we want to make it so that the window expands a little bit further. So let's change the geometry. Let's say instead of 600 by 700, let's say 800 by 200, and let's see what the increase of those pixels do. And it works out really good. And I just had to move this window so the camera view was a little bit better, but this works out great. So you can put in your name and you can put in your favorite saying, but we wanted to do something. So let's go ahead and utilize the get method, and then we can actually print it out. All right, let's take a look at this. We have here, let me get this drawing tool out of here. We have the import tkinter, and that of course, I'm actually going to use a drawing tool, leads to the fact that here, using the tools of tkinter, the user can enter info into what we call I'll just call it EF, the entry fields. And with the entry fields then flow into a function of which is activated by the button press. So we have the input field 1 and the input field 2, and the button will enact a function, or shall I say method, that then produces an output. So let's take a look. We have our module, importing the classes, or importing the tkinter module, which is comprised of classes. And here we establish the window, and we establish the window size, and we establish the window background. Now we want to create a label, and because a grid is a method that controls where we place the label, before when we created the label, before we discovered the .grid method, we actually had to utilize the name.pack method, which placed the whatever widget we created. In this case, it's a label. It could be an entry or it could be a button, but we can do all that in one single character, in one single statement, I should say. Here we create an entry field, which is this right here, entry, and then this determines the parameters. Here we take the same variable and we utilize the method grid on a separate line. The reason why we do this is because it will not allow us to utilize the .get method if we put it all on one line. If you do that, you're going to get an error. Anyways, the catchphrase is, in this case, it shows the text. The label shows favorite saying, and we have here entry equals entry, which means that if this produces the second field, okay, so you're going to see a label, then a field, then a label, and then a field. Now, the last thing we're going to see is a button. Now, we're using the button to present to us this function. The function here is show me. So when you can think of the command equals show me as a button which is tied to a certain action. So for for example, every time you see the go button, it's like your accelerator in your car. Every time you press the accelerator, you know you're going to proceed forward. Every time you press the brake on your car, you know you're going to slow down. Ultimately, you're going to slow to a stop. So we have here the button that when the user presses the button, it's going to do this command, show me. Now the command show me is, first we make an equivalent, name1 equals the .get method of entry 0. So in other words, the .get method captures the data that the user input into the field, and the same thing with the phrase, and then all we want to do is add another label with the name of the person, which is the input of name1, and the phrase. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, let me move this over. So name, I'm going to say Jason, and favorite saying, it is what it is, and submit, and we have here Jason, it is what it is. Now you can imagine what we could do with, for example, we can even make a little calculator, if that makes sense.